What is it that you can do to Khamzat that the rest of the division has failed to do so far?
Beat him.
How so?
I can beat Khamzat.
Dricus Du Plessis fires back at Khamzat Chimaev, shutting down rumors of their fight being cancelled. Following reports that Dricus Du Plessis might pull out due to injury, Khamzat Chimaev recently vented his frustration on X, slamming the situation and the timing of the possible cancellation. Fed up, he called Dricus, "This guy big as bullshit," making it known he's not buying the excuses and is unhappy with how things are playing out. In response, Du Plessis responded with a side-by-side breakdown of both fighters' activity over the past 2.5 years, daring fans to decide who's really full of it. Dricus stated in his post, "Let's take a look at the last 2.5 years and tell me who's bullshit." The numbers did the talking. Du Plessis has racked up 5 wins in that span, all against top-tier opposition, namely Sean Strickland twice, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whittaker. No cancellations, no weight issues, just business handled. Chimaev, despite his undeniable talent, shows a shakier track record, a string of cancelled fights with names like Whittaker, Paulo Costa, and Nate Diaz, plus a weight miss that killed one of them. Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev kept the pressure on, weighing in with a warning for Dricus Du Plessis. He urged the middleweight champ not to duck the fight, declaring that it's his time now and calling on DDP to step up and face him in the cage.
Now it's my time. Don't run too much. Let's wait, man.
Dricus Du Plessis fired back with confidence, declaring that he will be the one to hand Khamzat Chimaev his first loss. He claimed he's ready to do what no one else has managed, to take Chimaev's undefeated record and prove he's the superior fighter.
What is it that you can do to Khamzat that the rest of the division has failed to do so far?
Beat him.
How so?
I can beat Khamzat. I know for a fact Khamzat is shooting. That's a fact. I don't think, just like everybody else, he knows what he's going to feel when he is Khamzat going to be able to take me down? Absolutely. Absolutely, he'll be able to take me down.
In addition, Du Plessis took another dig at Khamzat Chimaev, saying he hopes Khamzat is strong enough to take him down and keep him there. He emphasized that this is how real fights play out and warned that once the fight hits the ground, Khamzat will have to deal with a different kind of problem, holding him down.
I would hope so. Isn't he like some Swedish champion or something? I would hope he could take me down. But then he has to deal with me on the ground and he has to keep me there. Can I take Khamzat down? Absolutely. Am I going to take Khamzat down? Absolutely. And then we're entering an area that he doesn't know. He got taken down by Gilbert Burns. He got taken down by Usman. We've seen him being as dominant as anybody can be in the first round.
Moreover, Dricus questioned Khamzat Chimaev's gas tank, pointing out that fans have already seen him completely gassed by the 3rd round. He reminded everyone this is a 5-round fight and promised to meet Chimaev in the center from the opening bell. According to DDP, they can wrestle the entire 1st round, but by the 3rd, the fight will shift to his terms and fight how he wants.
We've seen him being as exhausted as anybody can be in the 3rd round. This is a 5-rounder. Bring your 1st round. I am going to meet you in the middle and we are going to wrestle. We can wrestle that 1st round, the whole 1st round. And then we come out in that 2nd round and we'll see what we feel like. And we can wrestle you have around a minute left in that 2nd round. And then we're going to fight my fight. Then we're going to wrestle on my terms. And then we're going to strike on my terms. That's what I think. I think everybody has been moving backwards, trying to evade that takedown. No.
In response, Khamzat Chimaev dismissed Dricus Du Plessis' rise to the top by pointing to his fight with Robert Whittaker. He argued that Whittaker taking Du Plessis down exposed clear vulnerabilities and claimed he would have no trouble running through the current middleweight champ if they ever meet in the cage.
What do you think, guys? How I done with this guy, Rob? How he done? Rob took him down. So if Rob took him down, so there is salam alaikum.
However, Dricus made it clear he's not afraid of Khamzat Chimaev and isn't planning to avoid any part of the fight. Unlike others, he said he won't shy away from the ground game, calling it a common mistake opponents make against Chimaev. For DDP, it doesn't matter where the fight goes. Standing or on the ground, he's ready to take it head on.
I'm not scared of Khamzat wrestling. I'm not evading. I'm not trying to stay off the ground with Khamzat. That's the mistake everybody makes. I'm going to fight Khamzat wherever the fight goes. The same as this fight, the same as any other fight. You know, this is MMA. As soon as you go in your mind and think, I don't want to fight this guy stand up. I don't want to go to the ground with this guy. I mean, look at Izzy. That fight, the obvious way to fight Izzy is, and I knew I could take him down. I'm strong enough and I knew I had it. And I did take him down. I ultimately finished the fight there, but 90% of that fight was fought stand up. You know, I only shot 3 times, I think, in that fight, 3 takedowns.
Building on this, Du Plessis acknowledged the challenge of facing someone like Khamzat, praising his elite skill set, especially in grappling. He admitted that dealing with Khamzat's strength is easier said than done, but emphasized that you can't enter a fight with a mindset of fear or hesitation. According to DDP, you have to be willing to engage wherever the fight goes.
That is how a fight works. You can't go in there and think, I'm scared of this, I don't want to fight this guy here. No, of course you have your strengths and his strengths, but you have to go in there and fight somebody. You can't be, because as soon as you think of an area where you don't want this fight to go, you are limiting yourself. You are in a mental space where when you get to that situation, you are losing, in a sense, this fight. And that's what I think people make the mistake with Khamzat. And listen, it's easier said than done. The man is incredibly good, especially in those wrestling grappling exchanges. But you can't go out there fighting him and thinking, I don't want to be there.
So what's your thoughts on the whole Khamzat situation?
Yeah, I think Khamzat is an incredible fighter, but you know, you're fighting in the top 5 of the UFC. Everybody's incredible fighters. And you know, he has this one thing that works for him, and it's been good.
Expanding on his stance, Dricus Du Plessis offered a measured take on Khamzat Chimaev's recent performances, acknowledging that while there were tight moments against Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, and a grueling yet commendable win over Robert Whittaker, Chimaev has shown he's the real deal. DDP admitted that based on what Chimaev has accomplished, giving him a shot at the belt makes sense and is the logical next step.
You know, Khamzat is an absolute animal, absolutely, but I mean, you look at the Gilbert Burns fight, which you could have scored either way. You look at the Kamaru Usman fight, and you go, yeah, he did beat Robert Whittaker, but obviously his teeth broke back. It's unfortunate. He is really good. So, you know, deserving of a title shot 100% after that performance. You know, if you look at the Strickland's last performance versus Paulo Costa, and then you look at Khamzat's last performance versus Robert Whittaker, that's a no-brainer that Khamzat gets the title fight. And I had my own selfish reasons. I was more excited to fight a Khamzat.
Obviously, the situation with Rob Whittaker was, I mean, that was big ups to Khamzat. He is an incredible fighter. He did what he did to Rob. Rob's teeth were already a problem, and that happened. It is what it is. But I mean, if you look at a guy like Kamaru Usman, what he did with Khamzat on 10 days' notice, you look at the Gilbert Burns, those guys don't get intimidated by people screaming, I smash on the microphone off the missing weight. That is not how it works. Guys like Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman, and Robert Whittaker don't get intimidated by that.
In response, Khamzat Chimaev drew a comparison between Israel Adesanya and Dricus Du Plessis, stating that Adesanya is the more technically refined fighter. However, Chimaev pointed out that it was Du Plessis' relentless drive and sheer determination that tipped the scales in his favor. In Chimaev's eyes, it wasn't skill, but willpower that led DDP to victory over Adesanya.
Yeah, but Izzy is going down slowly. I don't think so. He's that motivated like before.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, but Izzy is better fighter than Du Plessis, I think.
You think Izzy's better than Dricus?
Yeah,
but they fought.
Yeah, they fought, but like a fighter, I mean, but then you have how much you're hungry, how much you want. These things is what you can be a bad fighter, and you could be some guy can beat you up 4 rounds and last round because of your heart, you win the fight, you know. So that's I think he don't have anymore, I think, but he is a good fighter. He's not by fighting. I think he's much better than Du Plessis. But Du Plessis wants the more. Yeah, now he wants to be a champ. He wants to stay there. That's why he took the belt, win the fight.
In addition, Ariel Helwani called the potential clash between Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev one of the biggest fights the UFC could make this year. With DDP's dominant rise and Khamzat still yet to fight for a title, Helwani believes the anticipation has been building for far too long. He sees this as a blockbuster matchup perfectly suited to headline International Fight Week, carrying the feel of a truly massive event.
Feels to me like this has the makings of one of the biggest fights of the year, given how good you've looked, the run that you're on, his popularity. He hasn't fought for a belt yet. We've been waiting for him to fight for a belt. It feels like a potential gigantic fight that would headline an International Fight Week.
Meanwhile, DDP expressed that headlining International Fight Week would be a major milestone, calling it a special moment. Having fought on the card before, he sees the opportunity to top the event this time as something truly incredible.
And speak to my team and then ultimately make the decision. Will we be ready for a date like that? Because that would be incredible if that's possible. I mean, International Fight Week's amazing. I've been lucky enough to fight on International Fight Week a couple of times. So to headline it will be something special.
Whereas MMA Guru believes DDP would win if the matchup against Khamzat Chimaev happens, highlighting DDP's impressive scrambling ability from the bottom. According to MMA Guru, Du Plessis won't easily get mounted and will work hard to regain control, potentially taking the back if Chimaev tries to dominate him.
I could see Dricus winning. Chat, yes or no, most underrated part of Dricus Du Plessis' game, jiu-jitsu. He actually scrambles really well from bottom position, really well. He's not going to let himself get mounted. He'll roll for like a leg and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? He'll roll for a leg, threaten a heel hook, and then use it to get back up and try and get back control. Like, he's actually really good at that shit. I will say this about the Chimaev getting a title shot thing. He's going to get one. He's beaten great names. He just did what he did to Whitaker. He's a huge star. They're going to have to make Chimaev Du Plessis. Also because I don't know about his ability to fight in the US.
Yep.
And it's very convenient for the UFC to have a non-US champ in Dricus for a fight like Chimaev that's more open to the idea of going to the Middle East or even having an event in South Africa. So that will happen now.
Moreover, Joe Rogan expressed genuine intrigue over the potential clash between Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, admitting that the outcome is unpredictable. He pointed out Khamzat's tendency to shoot from long range and still manage to secure control, but noted that endurance could play a key role. Rogan suggested that Khamzat's gas tank might hold up better at 185 than it did at welterweight, adding another layer of complexity to the matchup.
I would give DDP the advantage over Khamzat right now. Not to bet on it.
It's hard to say
It's
because
hard.
we don't know what happens.
There's so many
Khamzat.
question marks. We don't know.
Khamzat just shoots from like 15 feet away and gets a hold of your
But I
legs
look
so
at the
quick.
Kamaru. He didn't do that to Kamaru Usman. He didn't do it to Gilbert
He did.
Burns. We go in the third, fourth, and fifth.
He gave Usman for the first 3 rounds a nightmare. He was
And he
he was
gassed
taking him
out,
down.
but
Yeah.
he couldn't finish him.
That's
an
true.
older
Sure.
Usman.
Styles make fights, and you never seen Dricus fight a good wrestler, and Khamzat's one of the best. So
And
it's
you got to
fucking
think his
best.
endurance is probably going to be better at 85 than it was at 70 because of the cut.
Yeah.
For Khamzat, it's like 85 is really where he should have been all along.
Right.
Dana White confirms Khamzat Chimaev is next. Yeah,
That's before the fight. Before the fight, though.
I wonder where that is. That's got to be Vegas,
I'll
right?
tell you, Khamzat? No,
Saudi
that's
Arabia.
going to be in Saudi Arabia.
You think so? I think he's got a UAE passport now. I think he
Oh,
gets
maybe
into
and then
America.
Trump. Yeah.
Tom might have,
Yeah, I think he gets to
strings on
America
that.
now.
However, Dricus admitted that the UFC has long pushed Khamzat Chimaev as their breakout star, but questioned the consistency behind the hype. While he praised Chimaev's talent, DDP pointed out that despite being positioned as the guy for years, Chimaev has struggled to consistently show up for the big moments. For all the momentum, the leap to the top still feels incomplete.
You know, when I looked at it and I went, I know they've wanted Khamzat to be the guy for so long. He just hasn't been able to. You know, Khamzat is such an incredible fighter. He just hasn't been able to constantly get to fights first. And, you know, whatever the case may be, however long he has been the guy and just not being able to make that leap.
In addition, Dricus Du Plessis acknowledged Khamzat Chimaev's star power, massive fan base, and the hype surrounding him, admitting that Chimaev is a special fighter who's earned his shot at the title. But DDP made it clear he's just as dangerous.
Khamzat has a massive following. Khamzat is a big name. The hype is there, deserving. Khamzat is a special fighter. And I believe that once he fights me, that's when people will really see how special I am. And I was looking forward to having that fight.
Do you
I
think?
saw that.
Moreover, Du Plessis made it clear he doesn't pay much attention to what others say. He confidently stated that he knows he's a big name in the sport and that after his dominant win over Robert Whittaker, Khamzat Chimaev has earned his title shot. For DDP, Chimaev is the next big challenge.
Are you in that camp?
No. And I don't really care. I just know he's a big name. I think after the Whittaker performance, sure, why not? You know, for me, it's the next big guy, and everybody speaks about him as if he has ever been close to a title, which he hasn't. But for me, it's just good to be fighting somebody with, you know, what people think of Khamzat as this boogeyman. People, that's a fact. I don't see that. For me, I only see one thing, and that's the potential to do good to my legacy. The potential to even make my legacy even better.
The sports books have you listed as an underdog against Khamzat. Does that bother you? Does that annoy you? Do you care about that sort of thing?
No. I mean, I've been the underdog every time, I think. So, you know, odds don't win fights. Odds just make people more money.
Khamzat Chimaev may bring the storm, but DDP is ready to meet it head on. If this clash headlines International Fight Week, expect fireworks. If you liked the video, drop a like, share it with a fellow MMA fan, and hit that subscribe button so you're always up to date. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.